one thing I want to say before I continue, if someone tells you that luck is not important, it is important.
Eliaz, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you, Michael, for hosting me.
Really appreciate it. I just want to mention, Ron, before we start, that we had a session a few hours ago that we were about to start, and you were coming out of the hospital with a mask, and you were telling me that you're working on some different different studies in regards to COVID, and I just got so much inspiration from that, and I was so happy that we're delaying the talk because you're doing such important work in biomedical. So first of all, thank you for all the amazing work that you're doing, and now please, yes, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I will be more than happy to. So basically, I was born and raised in Israel. In basically one of the four big cities in Israel, but is actually what's called Beersheba, which is basically the queen of the desert, or the capital of the desert in Israel. There are four main cities. Beersheba is the less appreciated one. There is Haifa, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Beersheba, so it's kind of a diamond. It's Haifa on the north, is Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and then Beersheba in the south.
But it's David Ben Gurion's favorite city, so that's what counts.
That's true. But he went even southern. He went to
that's true.
Okay.
Yes.
Long story short, I learned chemical engineering and biotechnology in Ben Gurion University and Weizmann Institute. I did my bachelor degree and then my PhD in both universities. While I was in my PhD, I came across a few patents that we developed. And then I thought that we would like to maybe start a new startup company around our patents. So I actually I decided that I want to be kind of the executive and maybe the CEO of the company. So I decided that I need to learn MBA. So I went to an MBA program that was a Boston program. It was an MBA that started with the professors from Harvard University and Boston Universities in Israel.
Wow.
During my last year of my PhD, which was my second year of my MBA, my professor in Ben Gurion decided to go and start a company in MIT with Bob Langer. It's a huge name in the field of drug delivery and medical devices. So I wrote a letter to the dean of Harvard and said that if it's a true Boston program, I would like to do my second year in Boston while I'm actually writing my PhD in MIT. And that's what happened. I moved to Harvard for a year. I wrote my PhD during the day in MIT, and I went to school in the evening in Harvard Business School. And that was my first experience with the US. I then graduated and went to do my postdoc in UCSF, in University of California, San Francisco. Once I was there, I learned, I actually enjoyed myself in a basketball game. And long story short, I was in bed on my second week of my postdoc, in bed for 6 weeks, basically cannot move anywhere. And then
what did you do? You're playing basketball. How do you go to bed for 6 weeks?
Oh, because I got my ACL torn apart and my meniscus tear.
Wow.
I went to play basketball and then I was injured and then I needed to have a surgery. And while I was waiting for the surgery and then for the recovery, I basically wrote a grant for the NIH. I got a $5 million grant. We wrote a few papers in cancer research about the grant. I came with a grant from the cancer with tobacco research in UCSF and from Rothschild award or scholarship. So it was another one. And then actually I won $5 million grant, which was a lot of money then. And
it's a lot of money now too.
Yeah, I wrote a few papers in cancer research, and a year later I got a I am assistant professor in UCSF. So I was
Wow.
assistant professor in UCSF and UC Berkeley for gene therapy, drug delivery, and biomedical engineering.
Rom,
And
this is
then, living in
crazy.
the Silicon Valley, you basically see all these entrepreneurs. And I had my MBA, and I knew that what I really want to do is to start my own company and really help humanity with some new invention and new things that we did. So I was lucky enough to actually have a few patents in my PhD thesis, but also in my postdoc. So I was working on tissue engineering,
Right.
and I then worked on with some medical devices and drug targeting. So we wrote a few more patents, we wrote a few more papers. We tried to start a new company, but I then was asked after actually giving a lecture in London to join a company called Alza. Alza was a company in Silicon Valley that started by Alfred Zaffaroni. At the time, it was 3,000 people. I joined, they actually asked me to join around 1999. There was the Y2K. Long story short, I joined them a year later, actually a year and a half later in 2001. And then the company was acquired half a year later by Johnson & Johnson.
Wow.
So in my first exit, I basically was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. And once Alza was acquired for $12.3 billion, all the management went to start Jazz Pharmaceutical. So I was lucky enough to be on the side to basically got the management of the whole portfolio of drug delivery of Johnson & Johnson
Wow.
at Alza. I was at Johnson & Johnson for about three years. So one thing I want to say before I continue, if someone tells you that luck is not important, it is important.
Excuse me,
It's
Rom,
always important,
as much as...
and the better luck is always better than any other thing that you are doing.
Rom, I think you can definitely say that luck is important, but at the end, you're all, up until this point where you're saying that luck is important, you've already managed to do your PhD on biotech. You've already done your MBA through Harvard. So let's just say that yes, luck may be important, but in your case, I think your record speaks for yourself in terms of your
But it's
professionalism
true.
and your ability.
I think that if you are working hard and you're trying to go to the right places, the luck will go with you. So at the end of the day, if you are really doing what you need, and even if you fail, eventually things will go with you. Anyway, I was at Alza. I was there for about 4 years. After 4 years, they wanted me to move to New Brunswick in the East Coast. I didn't want to move. So I actually joined a small company. I was employee number 5 in a small company called Rinat Neuroscience, a company that was started in Palo Alto, was a spin-off from Genentech. When Genentech wanted to go only to oncology, they
Right.
spin out all the neurodegenerative diseases. Arnon Rosenthal, who was the head of neurodegenerative diseases at Genentech, started this company called Rinat Neuroscience. Today, all you guys live in West Coast can know there is a building of Pfizer called Rinat in South San Francisco. That was where the original Rinat was. Rinat was acquired by Pfizer 2.5 years later for $500 million. We have one antibody for Alzheimer, we have one antibody for pain, and we have one antibody for migraine, which is called the anti-CGRP. All of these, except of the Alzheimer, are basically drugs. One is a drug by Pfizer for pain, the other one is a drug by Teva for migraine.
Rom, I have to stop you here, because I have to understand what is the commonality between all these things that you've worked on? I mean, it sounds like all of them are very, very meaningful. They improve the lives of many. They're very they're very challenging professionally, because you're actually inventing new drugs, you're inventing new treatments for a lot of these. I mean, just when you were assistant professor, you wrote over 40 publications, you co-authored for over 40 publications. Where does this curiosity come from, and this motivation to build businesses or to help run businesses, while at the same time helping millions of people around the world with your inventions?
I think it's coming from youth. What you were doing. I had cleft palate. I was a child that was dealing with doctors all my life because I was treated by them. I was fascinated by this medical field. I wanted to be a doctor. In Israel, you have to go to the army. I couldn't go to the army to I wanted to be a doctor. The army wanted me to go and learn physics and computers. I said I don't want to. They actually gave me my own program at the time. It was a program called Talpiot. I didn't want to go there. They gave me a special one. But at the end of the day, I think it's really coming from where
Oh my
I
God.
felt that all my life I really wanted to help society and to help people. I really wanted to be a doctor all my life, or a violin player. When I was 17 years old, I actually accepted to Juilliard, but I decided that I'm not going to.
Okay, Rom, Rega, hold on. I have to breathe.
Okay.
1 second. First of all, my brother went to, yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling right now. My brother went to Juilliard, and so it's very close to heart. I just want to recap. The army wants you to go to Talpiot. You're probably the first person in the history of the nation of Israel that declines that offer, and so that they give you your own program. You get accepted to Juilliard, which everybody knows this is like the most prestigious school in the world for music. I saw my brother, with blood, sweat, and tears all his life until he got accepted there, and had a phenomenal experience in the university. You don't go to Juilliard, right? Because you're not a violinist now. You're a venture capital in biomed. So you forgo Juilliard.
I'm still playing the violin, and I still have my own 2 CDs, and I'm still playing today. I'm playing with friends. So I am, that's the beauty about music and violin in general. You always can do it as a hobby. You don't have to do it as a profession.
So you don't go to Juilliard, but you continue, and I can't believe it. I'm already sad that we only have a few minutes left, but Rom, I have to get your perspective today. You're in venture capital, you're investing as a part of so many different funds, one of them J Ventures, which we're both a part of. But what is it about this biomedical field that really intrigues you, and where are we headed now? So, as a young entrepreneur, I want to learn what are the most exciting things in the field, and where can I put my time and effort into helping others.
I think that one of the most important things in general, not only in medicine and medical, but in anything in life, is that if you attack a problem, you need to attack it from different angles. And that's exactly where the field of the medical field is going now. If you think about the collaboration now between the high tech and the biotech, you can see that basically now with all the AI and machine learning and all the digital health, you can basically get so many data that you were unable to collect in the past in a big data, and basically analyze it not only from the perspective of only biology, or how are you looking into antibodies or drugs, but then you also can see how they affect and what is the basically is a combination of bioinformatics that was known in the past. Now with the big data, I think that today the collaboration between all these fields, like the neuroscience, the big data, the AI, the machine learning, all the data and knowledge that we have from the medical field, this is where the world is going. It's still going to be, at the end of the day, you still will need to go back to the old biology and find the new targets and the new therapies for every drug. But the way there might be much, much shorter. You can be much more accurate, and basically the world is going toward personalized medicine. So it's not going to be any more kind of capsules or pills or anything that you are taking. Is going and not even antibodies that are good for let's say about 25% or 2% of the society. Each person is going to have kind of a gene editing or gene analysis, and by knowing that and knowing exactly what are the expression of genes and receptors that you have, you will know exactly how to target. And eventually, I'm pretty much sure that it's going to be like a collaboration of MEMS, of nanoparticles. The great Isaac Asimov, which is what call it, the voyage, the wonderful voyage, or I forgot the name of the book. Basically, when you have a little submarine that's going into the vein and can actually go through your body and really see what are the problems and solve it. That's something where the field is going. Everything is going to be targeted. It's going to be collaboration between engineering, biology, and basically high tech.
Rom, I think this is just inspiring. What made you do the transition from an entrepreneur and tech executive to venture capital, and how much time are you spending on either aspects of your professional career now? Are you mostly focusing on one of them, or is it always a balancing between the two?
I think there's always a balancing. It's really important to understand, when you are investing in this biotech field, you really you really need to understand what is the field. You need to understand how time things are taking. At the end of the day, it's always people and it's always technologies. And again, people. But you need to understand this technology because you need to know how to make the right investment. And then at the end of the day, you invest in people, and you need people that know how to solve situation, how to solve the difficult situation, how to solve crisis. Because in every startup, you can see a great business plan, but at the end of the day, nothing is close to the business plan. It's going completely to a different way. That's why the people is the most important thing in everything. And at the end of the day, if you have good people and you have the right collection of people from different fields, you always will be able to do all this stuff.
But I'm also assuming that in the companies that you invest in the medical space, they're not the average Silicon Valley company that's another social media app or another consumer product. This is more long-term research that the research is the business, right? The IP of the company and the knowledge. I mean, if it either works and then it's hugely successful, or it doesn't work and then it dies down. Is that the right comparison?
Definitely, and we are always looking for the cutting edge technology, always for the next thing, for something that is unknown, for something that is the next thing, because this is the field. If you want to invest, and you can do that. You can be a generic, you can be me too, you can be a lot of things. But if you want to be a real entrepreneur and you really want to take the risk, you really need to invest in the cutting edge technology. And taking the risk, like you need to know that sometimes you're taking the wrong curve, or you're taking you're a gamble on the wrong application. But then at the end of the day, if you are looking on a variety and a nice portfolio of situations, at the end of the day, you probably will, hopefully, be able to target it, or to be the winner of at least one or two. You need only one Google, and you need only one Facebook. You need only one kind pharma. At the end of the day, if you are able to get this one, then you will have enough funds to actually invest in other very interesting cutting edge. At the end of the day, you never know, even a failure technology, at the end of the day, can become merged to another technology. And it happened. It happened that we went on one technology, it didn't work, but when we merged it with others, at the end of the day, maybe even 5 years later, or maybe even 10 years later, because the market wasn't ready, or the technology wasn't there yet. The dreams can still become true.
Okay, so a question for myself. I'm an engineer. I'm studying artificial intelligence at university now, but I definitely see myself being an active part in the space that you're in right now, because that's where the future is, and this is what is actually going to either save or at least magnify and help the lives of millions of people, if not billions of people around the world. If I want to be an entrepreneur in your space and I have the expertise in computer science and machine learning, do I also need to go and pursue academics in biology or biotech, or is it enough that I find the right partners who can complement my knowledge with their knowledge and go that? So this is a serious question that I'm wondering what's the right path for me.
What I'm saying, no, you don't need to be all of them. From my perspective, I always like to know a lot of things. So you don't need to have like a degree in biology or something. You definitely need to work with right people. But if you ask me, I will definitely recommend that you will take some advanced courses, or you will take some classes or something in the field. You will always try to learn more and more. It's never-ending process. Like there is I have a degree in black belt in martial arts, and basically you're saying never-ending excellence. You never can stay in your comfort zone. Always you need to get to improve yourself, to get better, to know better. Once you're trying to overachieving that and really try to go out of your comfort zone and all the time learn and learn and learn, eventually you will get the right people around you. You will find the right people. But again, you need to know one thing really, really well. If you are really good in your AI and machine learning, excel in it. Be the expert in it. So be the point of excellence from AI in your team. But definitely try to surround yourself with a team of people coming from the biotech, especially if you want to go into biotech, people that know how to do business. And then once you decide to do something in the field, definitely try and learn about it. You don't need to be the expert. You don't need to be the best person in the room, in the field, but definitely try to understand what they are talking about, so you know what's going on around you.
Rom, I am so inspired by this talk. Thank you again for giving me your time. Right before we leave, I need 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Definitely motivation.
Yeah. That's
never-ending improvement.
What is the second one?
Never-ending improvement.
Never-ending improvement.
And never stop to dream. Always dream, and once you dream a dream, try to achieve it and make it come true.
Well, Rom, thank you for saving lives. Thank you for making the world better. That's all I have to say. And I'm definitely going to keep you in the loop. And I'm thankful for this friendship and relationship. And I'm gonna come back for more and more advice over the years. So thank you.
We'll be more than happy to. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.